Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. This will be an interesting show. Yep, Dennis Dodd's upset over the NCAA, and he says it pays to cheat. And, of course, Pat Forde, or Pat Forday, however you want to say it, he's not been happy with the Vols for a very long time. We're going to get into these two fellas. Now, look, when it comes to the national media, they are not exactly our pals. Yeah, that's pretty much how I see them most of the time. Now, we get a pretty good shake around here with the local media, but national media, they love to pile on. It's just kind of the way that it is. But let's take a look at this most recent article by Dennis Dodd. And this is the same Dennis Dodd that had a little whisper campaign about he didn't think Nico was playing very well in spring practice. He'd been hearing things. Now, I don't know who in the world he was talking to because I never heard a single person say that. But anyway, Dennis doesn't like the Vols so much. But his story goes, lacking punishment for Tennessee's egregious cheating leaves Greg Sankey unsure about the future of enforcement. And he called this one of the slimiest cases on record. Said the NCAA concluded former coach Jeremy Pruitt and his wife were directly implicated in paying prospects and players a total of 5 figures. 5 figures means 60 grand. I guess 5 figures sounds more than 60 grand maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's 60 grand. It is what it is. In today's NIL, that's – but – look, you got to make it seem really, really bad. So let's take a little further. It says, you also might have noticed Tennessee continues to be among living in terms of football. It had some scholarships taken away. It was 28 scholarships. Okay, 28. That's not a tiny amount. Anyway, $8 million fine, the largest ever handed out by far. But he said no postseason ban. Said it certainly did not hurt the Volunteers. Had State Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti threatened to sue the NCAA. I covered that, actually. Did a whole story on it, and that was pretty impressive. The thing is, with the NIL law that was passed in the state of Tennessee, you can't punish innocent players for the wrongdoing of others. And that's pretty normal, really, when you think about how the law is set up. But, you know, the NCAA's been able to just punish whoever.
Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself!
Has been able to punish schools and all that. And look, had Tennessee fought this, been difficult, you know, lawyered up and fought it the whole way, then I would expect them to get hammered. But they didn't do that. As soon as they found out, Donde Plowman jumped into it, started investigating it, let the NCAA know everything that was going on. Then they went through, investigated it all, found all the evidence, and handed it over to the NCAA. So that's called cooperation. And you get points for that, especially as the NCAA changed their constitution to where you are not supposed to punish innocent players that had nothing to do with things of the past. And the NCAA said they're at a crossroads philosophically. I'd say that's true. It says existing rules say Tennessee probably should have gotten hammered for up to a 2-year bowl ban, but recent guidelines changed. We just discussed that. Talks about Greg Sankey remains a member of the infraction process committee that's making some of these recommendations. Said he couldn't have been blamed for advocating for Tennessee when he attends April's infractions hearing, but it's also fair to ask anyone listening, is this penalty transformation after the Tennessee case, is there anything meaningful left to disincentivize big-time cheating? Absolutely there is. Ask Jeremy Pruitt. He lost $13 million. He can't work in college football for 6 years. He's been out for 3. That's a 9. See, people never talk about this. They never talk. You know why they don't talk about this? I'm going to tell you. Because they don't care. The last 3 years where we've had a cloud over us, see, they don't consider that a penalty. They just, oh, well, you know, I hadn't really paid attention to it because I don't care. Well, we care. We've been watching it for 3 years, and that has been used against us in all kinds of ways, especially with recruiting.
He ain't lying.
Because, oh, you don't want to go there. They're going to get a big bowl ban. You don't know how bad it's going to be. So for 3 years, we've suffered through that. But let's not talk about any of that. Let's not talk about the fact that all the coaches were fired, lost millions of dollars, have not been able to work in college football for the coming years and the previous years. So they all got huge penalties. That's how you stop it. A head coach that's sitting there making $10 million a year does not want to screw that up. And they just saw how you mess it up, what Jeremy Pruitt did. That's simple. And I'm not really mad at Jeremy Pruitt for helping some kids out with some money when he's making $4.5 million a year. You know, kind of on some level understand it, but you can't do it. And Sankey said the reality and circumstances have changed. Said we had a constitutional committee and they discussed everything we just discussed. It says, in the end, Tennessee effectively skated on this one because it showed exemplary cooperation, although in a case like this, resistance would be like getting caught with a bag full of marked bills and arguing the bank put them, blah, 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 whatever. Sankey said, I think rewarding leadership when something's detective and responding quickly and making the right decisions is important too, which is exactly what happened. Dodd says, therein lies the catch-22. The NCAA is still trying to figure out what the penalty sweet spot would be. He talks about Pruitt was never going to survive this. The cheating was so blatant and sloppy at Tennessee that he might deserve more than the 6-year show cause. Says from the outside looking in, Tennessee could find 8 men between the couch cushions or a rich donor, anything to keep the train rolling under Coach Josh Heupel. Now he says there's just an unfairness about the entire outcome when it comes to wrongdoing. All politics are local. Get rid of all the cheaters, well, unless it's at your doorstep. And, of course, he started the entire article with right here, it pays to cheat. And as you know, Pat Ford also basically wrote a very similar article, Tennessee's light punishment, sign of a new era, and he was not happy about it. And, of course, he has kind of ripped us all the way up and down. He's still angry about the Greg Schiano thing, and he mentions that in the article quite a few times. Actually, I'll show it to you. And right here, this is where he talked about it. He said, the ruling puts a bow on an embarrassing cycle for Tennessee, one in which the school somewhat inadvertently comes out in a much better situation that went in. So this all started with the misguided fan mutiny of 2017 when former athletic director John Curry attempted to hire Greg Schiano as football coach, was undercoat in a disingenuous populist revolt that ultimately cost Curry his job. So that's really what it's about for him. He's still angry about that, and he hits us on a fairly regular basis. And this is the national media. There's several more that are out there. They're not happy. They wanted a bowl ban really badly. And I kept saying for months, if you give a bowl ban to a university that fully cooperates, hands over the evidence, and does everything the NCAA asks, who will cooperate in the future? And they'd be going against their own constitution. What you should do is punish the people that made the mistakes. And that's the coaches and the people that gave the money. And that's exactly what they did. The university also got punished with 28 scholarships lost, 3 years of a cloud over their head, which none of these national guys seem to understand or want to even talk about because that's inconvenient. That's really what it boils down to. It's inconvenient. And you folks know I'm not going to let them talk smack. I'm going to bring it up.
I'm your huckleberry.
Yep, I'll just have to be their huckleberry. It's the way it is. And unfortunately, that's just, look, it is what it is. It's sour grapes. We're fine now. We've got 10 more scholarships to deal with, 2 a year for 5 years under probation. The cloud's over. We can't have all this negative recruiting and all this kind of crap. And now we get to move forward. And that's what happens when you do the right thing. When you see there's a problem and you resolve it and fix it properly, which is, look, Donde Plowman did a great job. You just no other way to put it. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. That's me to continue to cover the Vols, the SEC, and all these folks that want to knock us down. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I'd appreciate it. And right over here's the most recent video. Be sure to check that one out. And we will see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.